introduction. I also didn't grow up, and I still haven't figured out the talent. I want to kill all millennials at least 5 times a day. But I love them too. So, this is the Art Directors Club Europe. I'm not an art director. I have a real hard time kind of matching the colors of my own clothes. And this has been probably the worst time I've had putting this presentation together, because I tried every font possible, because I thought all these people are designers, and I can say whatever I want, but it has to look amazing. I think it looks decent, but you guys gave me a lot of grief, I have to say. I'm not going to show a lot of, I'm actually not going to show work. I'm going to have a conversation about this thing about creativity and machines, and my pitch to my talk was the artificial intelligence, artificial intelligences are not going to take my job. And if you guys are half as good as you should be to be here and to be interested in stuff like the stuff that we've been talking about today, and we're going to talk about today, artificial intelligence also won't take your job, hopefully. So let's talk about human intelligence and artificial intelligence. But first let's start with AI, because now everybody's very worried about AI. Everybody thinks they're going to have a Scarlett Johansson voice on their phone or in their ear at any point in time, and it's super close. It's not close, it's going to take a long time. I don't know if you guys have read, there are 2 books. Any person in the world who wants to work with human beings and work with the creative industries, there's several books actually, but these 2, if you don't read them, you're missing out. Sapiens and Homo Deus. They're both written by a professor of history who's based out of Jerusalem, Yuval Harari. And you can, I mean, don't ditch the typography class, but, maybe wait a little bit more for Stranger Things 2 and read these books, because it will give you a lot of context. And if we don't understand context, we cannot work in the creative industries. So in Homo Deus, which is the scarier one, Sapiens brings us to the present. Homo Deus kind of predicts the future, where we're going. In Homo Deus, he says a few things that are really scary. And one of the things he says is that the reason it's become kind of easier to replace us with AI is because we have become verticalized, siloed. We've become specialists. It will be, what he says is, it would be really difficult for you to create an AI that would replace a caveman, because a caveman had to do everything. But an AI that can replace the guy who bets in the stock market, you can do that. At the end of the day, the betting in the stock market is about doing a lot of maths. And what the AI is doing is a lot of maths, very, very fast. This is AI, neural networks, algorithms, deep learning, machine learning, all these really big, difficult words that we're all freaking out about. But at the end of the day, AI has gotten to the point it is right now, and it's going to evolve, and evolve quite fast, because of 3 big things. And I'm not an engineer, but that's what all the people who know about it say. 1, the increasing amount of computing power in the cloud. The fact that it's in the cloud, it's distributed, a lot of people have access to it, so a lot of people can work together. So computing power. Algorithms and neural networks. So neural networks, I love preparing for things like this, because then I have to study and I learn a lot of new things. And I'm a nerd, so I read everything in front of me, including like medicine, the thing that comes inside the medicine inserts. So it's very good, because it gives you a lot of information. And actually, that's one of the reasons also AI is not going to replace me, because I have information about cat food, although I don't own a cat and I don't care about cats that much. I think they're good for the internet, but I wouldn't have a cat at home. And about neural networks. So neural networks are how they organize the nodules of computing, so that they're trying to mimic our brain. So you've all seen that image on on your computer, or I don't know, on some science fiction movie of how the neurons, one neuron, boom, electricity, next neuron, da-da-da, it's like distributed. So neural networks are like that. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to mimic the neurons. That's why it's called the neural network. So the algorithms work on the neural networks. Exactly how, I don't know, but I'm going to explain to you what an algorithm is, because I had never read the definition of an algorithm. And when I read it, again, I thought, oh, that's why AI is so stupid. And data. So the third thing, closing this window, opening another one, the third thing that's very important is data. We're very, very guilty of it because we're the ones producing this data. We're the one quantifying ourselves. We're the ones giving out the data to, to the computers and to the AIs out there. Now, what is an algorithm? A set of rules to be followed in calculations or other problem-solving operations. An algorithm, so Google, when you search for something on Google, it uses a little bit more than 200 algorithms and millions of whatever things that they have in their database to come back with what the algorithms think will be the best result. And the best result, according to the algorithms, are the results that are going to get a click. So that's interesting because it's not the best result. It's the best result for the click. It's not necessarily what you were looking for when you looked for define algorithm. So that said, an algorithm is what we tell an algorithm to be. We program the algorithm. So we could say that the algorithm is as limited as the person who writes the algorithm, right? So again, not going to take my job. So the other thing that the algorithm does is, the algorithm, what will do it will calculate, it will process data, and it will have automated reasoning. I hate the word digital. When the whole digital thing started, I avoided using digital. I was a digital creative, and I was like, what the fuck is, sorry about the vocabulary because this is being taped, but what is a digital creative? Digital is 0 and 1, right? That's digital. That's the basic definition of digital, and there's nothing human about 0 and 1. We are not 0 and 1. We're not binary. Well, some people might be, but most of us, we're not binary, we're not 0 and 1, we're gray, we're in the middle. So when you say automated reasoning, it's because there is no such thing in a human being as automated reasoning. If there was automated reasoning, Donald Trump would not be president, of the United States, yeah. So the algorithm is limited not only by the person who programs the algorithm, but also by the fact that it's doing a calculation, it's processing data, therefore needs the data, and it's automated reasoning, a reasoning that we tell it to organize. So we already predict what the result is going to be. Again, I Google for something, and it shows me the result that will get a click, not necessarily the best answer to what I'm Googling for. Now, the data is very scary. I did do it looks much nicer on this screen for the designers out there. The colors, I looked on Color Lovers for a really good color palette. I'm serious, you guys are a hard audience. So why is the data a big issue? Because we're the ones producing the data. We're quantifying everything. I got for my birthday, I got the watch, the Apple Watch, and now I'm obsessed with the 3 rings. I don't know who has it, but it's just horrible. It makes you obsessed. It's very weird because there are 3 rings. The red one, you're not seeing it, but there's a red, there's a green and a blue. The red one says move. Since I've been wearing this thing, I've never closed the red ring. Apparently I don't move enough. The green one is exercise, and it's X amount of 30 minutes. I closed it, I gave it like 3 loops, more than one day, but I still didn't close the move one. So exercise and move, according to someone who created the algorithm for this thing, are not the same thing. And then the third one is stand, and it's X amount of 12 hours. So if I stand for 12 hours, or the equivalent of what they think that I'm up and about for 12 hours, then it will close the ring. So think about it. Stand and exercise and move are 3 different things. I don't know what the basis is. Why is it 30 minutes of exercise? So, stupid thing that you guys probably don't know. I learned that also in one of my, adventures on the internet. Do you know how the air conditioning for any building, especially work environments, is how they get to the ideal temperature? It's based on the amount of individuals, male individuals, 1 meter 80, 76 kilos. They think that if a room is designed for 150 people who are male, 180, and have 76 kilos, then the ideal temperature is probably, 26 degrees centigrade. I think centigrade. So that's why women are always cold and men are always hot when it's central air conditioning, because someone decided that that was the right temperature, and someone told the algorithm on this thing to tell the accelerometer that I need to move, and then maybe depending on how I move, it will say that I did 30 minutes of exercise or this or that. But pop-up finished, The fact is, I'm tracking myself. And when I'm tracking myself, Apple's tracking myself. Every health app that I've downloaded on my phone connected to this thing is tracking me. I have 2 sleep apps because I decided to know if I'm sleeping well or not. Apparently, if you sleep more than 8 hours in my age, because I don't look, but I am old, it's good, so it's 100%. But they tell me if I had deep sleep, if I didn't have deep sleep. So now I know, I've always known that when I drink, my sleep is not so good. Now my phone also makes a point of telling it to me every morning. Because yeah, you had too many drinks, so now your sleep wasn't as profound, so you didn't get to 100%. So it's sharing all of this data. I'm giving the AIs this data. We're tracking everything. We're tracking, awesome, jacquard, awesome. I mean, I want one of those jackets, but now Google will know when the guy is cycling and what they're doing with their hands, and they're probably gonna have an accident, potentially, because last I checked, there are no self-driving bicycles yet. And even the cars are still crashing. So we are tracking everything. We're giving the algorithms a lot of data so they can make a lot of calculated reasoning calculation so they can then make decisions and be artificial intelligence. So all of this is now being used against us, theoretically, right? The war, man and machine. So human intelligence. Let's talk about human intelligence. I was looking for human intelligence on the internet and on books. I've decided that because Google always shows me what I want to click on and not necessarily what I'm looking for, I love books and I buy books, physical, tangible books. And whenever I have to prepare for anything, I just go to my shelf, whatever book is there. There's usually a lot of serial killer books, but they always have a lot of really interesting stuff on them, believe me. So anyway, I open a lot of books on the floor, and I just flip to some page and try to find something related to what I'm searching for. In this case, I found this on the internet, but then it actually made me buy a very expensive book. So Will Eisner, who is probably the father of cartoons, right? He was officially the first graphic novel is his. Will Eisner says that we humans are incredible because we come up with impossible solutions to insoluble problems. And that's amazing. So if you search for human ingenuity, this concept of human ingenuity, which is what brings us here today, why we're here today, why we didn't die in the Ice Age, and why we haven't killed all of us yet, and why you should read Yuval Harari. We're right to say that there's a lot of issues in the world right now, but we have never lived so much at peace. We have never not died of hunger. Actually, it's easier today. There's a higher chance that you will die of diabetes or that you will commit suicide than that you will die of violence or because of a war. This is the world we're living in right now. Anyway, sorry about that pop-up. Coming back to this. When you look for the whole human ingenuity thing, that's what you find. Will Eisner saying impossible solutions to insoluble problems. And you go and you look for insoluble problems, and this is what you find. This is a human. An artificial intelligence would not do that. Because reasoning would say that just the health and safety of doing that, no way. I mean, he's definitely gonna break a bone or something, right? So an artificial intelligence won't do that. And that's why it's not gonna take our job. It's really amazing. And again, going back to Yuval, because Yuval is just, I'm dying, I need to meet him. But it costs $100. I curated an event in Brazil, and I thought, okay, this is my turn. Now I'm going to meet Yuval in person. $100,000 for the guy to give a speech. So not yet. I think I might have to get myself to Jerusalem and say hi. I really need to meet you. But one of the most beautiful things that is written on the book is that the biggest scientific discovery of all time was ignorance. Was the fact that at some point a human being woke up and thought, I don't know this. Therefore, I need to discover. An artificial intelligence will not feel this way. An artificial intelligence will just look for another database. Will just try to find the information somewhere. And according to the algorithm that will tell it how to find it and what to find it and how to combine the information that it finds, it will try to solve its ignorance and probably come up with something very weird. Humans are curious. We are curious. Which is why artificial intelligence won't take our job. I mean, just for the record, I'm not stupid, I read enough, I try to get as much information as I can, so there is a potential chance that at some point in maybe 50, right now they're saying 50, 60 years, you will have a real nice conversation with Alexa or Siri or whatever the name is going to be. But it's very, very far away. So by then, we will have figured out other ways to, limit that. But for now, no, it's not going to take our job because we're curious. Because when faced with the thing, we'll go and throw the pillow over. So there's this guy is a professor of marketing, or I don't know, I think consumer marketing or something at Stanford University. And it's really cool. And he explains why we're curious. And we are curious because we get bored. So under stress, humans hang on to the familiar, which is one of the reasons that when we're really stressed, we can't solve a problem. So anybody who has read any book by any writer or painter, autobiographies, they all have sort of the same technique. It's always between 4 and 6 steps. So you get faced with a problem, then you get a lot of information on the problem, then you try to think about it, then you go take a shower, go for a nap, or go ride a bike, and boom, inspiration will come. It's not true, it's not inspiration, it's actually your brain was working, but you needed to let it calm down, because when you're stressed, it doesn't work, and it's chemical. So when we're stressed, we go to the usual way, but once we calm down, we become bored. And boredom will make us be curious, and boredom will make us try something new. I mean, we can try, somebody can ask Siri, Siri, are you bored? I'm sure the answer is going to be, I don't know what you're talking about, Fernanda. I have Siri and Alexa, and I try conversations with them. My Instagram, there was a period that I was obsessed with Siri, so I would ask the most bizarre questions, and I have very many posts of dialogues with Siri, but I mean, it's a joke. It's nowhere near where we think that it could be in order to take our jobs. So, because they don't get bored. Boredom makes us seek new territories. Boredom makes us come here and listen to people from all over the world, talk about their points of view, talk about how they could try and help with the refugee crisis, or how they could try and reinvent one of the most iconic billboards in the world, or how they want to sell makeup. Boredom makes you come here and try to find inspiration in that. Because you're calm, you're very relaxed. If you were stressed, you would be probably doing something else. And something somebody will say on the stage today is going to spark something in you. And it's also because you do not conform. Humans are non-conformists. We will not stay put. We won't. I mean, hello, it's the history of us as it is right now. And we haven't even destroyed this planet yet, and we're dying to go to the next one. I mean, actually, this is a good exercise. I want to see if I'm among like-minded people. Who would go to Mars if we could go to Mars tomorrow, and if you couldn't come back? Well, right now, you could go, but you couldn't come back. So there's 3 different missions to Mars right now in the works for real. This is a mental pop-up, and because it's another obsession of mine. So one of them is NASA, but NASA will not take any human anywhere that it cannot promise and prove with all the numbers, algorithms, with all the numbers that it will bring the human back. Also, it's government funded, so complicated, right? Sending people to their death and all that. Then there's 2 others. One is the Elon Musk whatever thing, which is a little bit more under wraps. There's not a lot of information about it. And then there's Mars 1, which they say the first thing they're going to do is they're going to send 6 groups of 4 people. So they've started selecting. I applied. I wasn't selected. Like over 100,000 people in the world applied, for the record. So then they would select groups of 4 people based on artificial intelligence and a lot of data mining, and Tinder meets Facebook meets LinkedIn and everything you ever put on the internet. They're going to mine all that and say these 4 people are a good combination. So then they'll create all these cells. You're going to train for 1 year. If one of you drop out, everybody drops out because you only work as a cell. And then they'll send these 6 people to Mars, but they're going to live very far away. It's not like we're building a city. It's not Utopia. It's not Lost or The Others. It's like real creepy, like just the 4 of you. You're not supposed to have sex because you don't know what happens if a baby is born there. And by the way, if a baby is born there, it's no one's citizen. Do you know if you commit a crime in the International Space Station, it depends on where you are in the International Space Station, and that's the law that applies to you. If you're in the American territory and you commit a crime, American law. If you're in the Japan territory and you commit a crime, Japanese law. If you're going from one to the other, no man's land. There is no law. And there is an international treaty about space that says that we cannot claim territory. So even if they make it to Mars, there's no, I love Buzz Aldrin, I met him. I have he was in South by and I was there and it was, oh my God, big moment in my life. So Buzz Aldrin, cool, but the whole planting of the flag, it's not American territory because nobody can claim territory in space right now. If you catch an asteroid and you want to bring it back to Earth, then yes. It's yours. That rock is yours. But nobody can own a piece of the moon. So if anybody tries to sell you that, it's a lie. That said, humans, nonconformists. We want to go to Mars. We want to go to the moon. Actually, to get to Mars, you're supposed to first build on the moon because you have to have like a stopover. Like coming to Barcelona, you stop somewhere because it's a long flight from other places. Some places, not all places, Anyway, we're nonconformists. We keep trying new things because we're bored. And because what's around us is not enough. So whether we started as nomadic Indians, nomadic tribes, we ran out of apple and ran out of game, and then we moved somewhere else because we were not going to die of hunger. So we're non-conformist. AI is very conformist. We will not stay behind the thing. And actually, it's a really funny thing whenever you talk to people who have kids. The first rule of having small kids is you have to watch the no. And it's the first thing parents say to kids is no. Don't do this. No, don't touch that. And the moment you say no, it's exactly the moment the child will do it. So after a while, they learn that they need to measure the no's a little bit more because otherwise this happens. So that's what it is. And that's why I thought the quote by Will Eisner was so brilliant because that's what we are, that AI isn't. And is nowhere near it. Because if it's an insoluble problem, according to the algorithm, then the algorithm hasn't been written for it. And we don't care about that. We just look for those impossible solutions to problems that are supposedly not easy to solve. And that is, to me, what creativity is. At the end of the day, whatever research you read about how intelligence, how the brain, another obsession, I mean, it's amazing. There's a lot of literature out there, and there's a lot of studies now on how the brain works, and there are 5 areas of your brain, and when they all light up, and why you can, even if you have an injury on one side of your brain, you could try and teach the other side of your brain to do what this side forgot how to do, or if you had an injury or whatever. But at the end of the day, creativity, and that's why they build neural networks, is you input a lot of stuff on your brain throughout your life. Everything is in here. And I say here because unless somebody proves something different, right now our hard drive is here. They are trying to, embed data in organic material, which would mean that you could have an external hard drive, but internal on your arm, and that would be so cool. But that said, it's all in your brain, all in your brain. Everything is in here, and we just connect shit, and then we just make really weird, unimaginable connections. We read a book about a serial killer, we watch Stranger Things, and we see a guy on a bike, and boom, we have an idea. We don't know how it works, but it feels like it comes from here. It doesn't, it comes from here. But, it feels like it comes from here. And AI is not like that because it needs to be programmed. Therefore, you need to think about what kind of data you could potentially combine in order to solve the task that the algorithm was given to solve. Which brings me back to ignorance. Whenever I talk, and it was one of my things with my young people, the ones that I feel like murdering very often. I mean, I love working with younger people because they challenge me and they bring me new stuff and they teach me new words, which is also very good. But it's maintain yourself ignorant. And I think it's very important for us, and I love when Steve said that you need to have that imposter syndrome. I have the imposter syndrome. I always think somebody's going to find out that, who am I to talk about artificial intelligence? Come on. I don't know shit about it. I cannot program. But you know what? I can do the homework about it. I can try and find a parallel, because ignorance can be cured. Arrogance, not so much. But ignorance, you can cure ignorance at any point in your life. In fact, there's research by a big university in the States, I'm pretty sure it was in the States, that they came up with a theory, and there's been a couple of books published about it, that you can become a master at anything in about 20 years. So, and in anything, it could be a physical thing, it could be an intellectual thing. So if you now, right now, decide that you want to be a grandmaster chess player, in 20 years, if you work hard for the next 20 years, you can become a grandmaster chess player. Anybody can. You can learn anything. You want to learn to write in Japanese? In 20 years, you're going to learn to write in Japanese. Now, why is the learning curve a bit shorter for kids? Because they are, in fact, wired slightly different. As we grow up, society and context makes us stupid and dumb. It's like we're being programmed with algorithms to tell us to be reasonable about stuff. So we try less, we don't jump over the thing with the pillow, we don't do those things anymore, which is very bad for us because we become a little less creative. But the truth is, ignorance can be cured. And AI doesn't know ignorance, because AI, when it doesn't know something, it looks for the data, because the data is supposed to be there. AI, when it doesn't know something, it tries to solve it through an algorithm. And if you haven't told the algorithm what to solve, it's not going to do it. And that is humanity. That's us. That's what defines us.